I'm joined remotely via Zoom from our mutual self-quarantine by Lucie Faulknor and Don Logsdon, the co-founders of Serendipity Films. Thanks for being here, Don and Lucie.
Thanks for having us.
And then I'd like to have each of you kind of talk to the audience to share why you created Serendipity Films, and then what are some of the titles that you've either produced or worked on.
Sure. To tell you the honest truth, we started the film company because when I first met Dawn, she was working on our other film, Faubourg Treme, The Untold Story of Black New Orleans, and it was going through her own personal bank account as a DBA. So once you get a bunch of funders, you need to keep, for the financial reporting, you need to have everything, very clear and concise. And so that's why we started Serendipity Films, because we needed a new bank account and in order to report to them. So it's very mundane, but that's why we started it. But Dawn will tell you the type of films that we like to make.
In case you can't tell, she's the one who handles the business. And thank God for that. We made a film about New Orleans, which is about a historic African-American neighborhood there that I made with a friend of mine from high school, and Wynton Marsalis was the executive producer, who's also somebody that I went to high school with in New Orleans. It's my hometown. And then I, prior to that time, had a long career as an editor. And so in between that film and Free for All, I've been editing films as part of the Serendipity project. So I did a piece last year for American Masters about the chef Jacques Pepin. And I worked on an experimental film called The Royal Road, which is suddenly very timely again, because part of what it's about is Juniper Serra and his legacy of, well, I don't want to say destruction, but his mixed blessing legacy, to say the very least, and how much children growing up in California were taught one side of the mission story, the story of, the Spanish and the missionary period in history. And that film was made by Jenny Olson, and it went to Sundance. And so most of what we do is work that's for PBS. Occasionally BBC or HBO, but mostly PBS.
And then you both created Free for All, and please walk the audience through why Free for All. It's a wonderful film and probably a very large project for what you guys have done in the past.
It's her idea. Yeah. It was her idea. It's all her fault.
Yeah, it has been. It's been a huge project. It started when we were working on Treme, the Treme film. I was spending a lot of times in archives and libraries, and I just fell in love with librarians because that would have all the answers to anything we needed. If they didn't have the answer, they would look it up, and by the time I got back to my office, the answer would be in my inbox. And so I told Dawn, I said, we should make a movie about public libraries. And she's like, I'm sure it's already been done. And so we, of course, Googled it, and it hadn't been done. And so we started thinking about that. We found out who the best historian was on the subject, and we called him up, and he got him on board. And then Hurricane Katrina hit. We had to evacuate New Orleans. Ended up in Baton Rouge with just our 3 days worth of clothes, thinking we'd be right back home, and discovered that we wouldn't be able to go back home, and we didn't have our computers or anything, and cell phone towers were down. Nobody knew where we were or what we were doing, and so we went to the library to get on the computer to tell people where we were, and we were okay because my family's in California, here in San Francisco, and so once we got to the library, we realized librarians are first responders because they were there. Well, signing, there's like a line down the block. They were signing people in to get on the computers so they can get in and check loved ones lists, to see if they were in the Super Bowl or if they were.
Superdome.
Thank you, Superdome. They had FEMA forms. They had Red Cross help there. It was amazing. They were just somebody to listen to you too, like somebody who if you lost everything, the librarians were there to talk to you and help you with your insurance forms or whatever. Finally, we got back into it, even though we said we weren't going to make another film. We did. We are. here we are.
And we've actually been filming a lot of disasters over the years as we're traveling around working on this project. So starting with Hurricane Katrina and going all the way through the COVID pandemic.
Yeah, we were almost done.
With wildfires and floods and all kinds of things in between. Elections.
So what would you like to see as the biggest impact, in Free for All for the importance of public libraries? What are some of the major goals, in the outcome of that wonderful film?
I would say to keep, until we started this film, it was something we really took for granted. Where the fact that we had a public library every place we've ever lived, and it was free and it was open to everybody, and
in every place we ever traveled, there's a public library
in the United States, yeah, and most countries now to other places too. But I don't think we can take our public spaces for granted forever. And if we do, we're really in danger of losing them. And I think this moment is super acute for us being aware of that now that they're all closed. It's like, as a society, how do we want to bring them back? Do we want to commit to bringing them back and paying for them because it means taxes? And it should be said, if it wasn't already mentioned, that this film is at least half history, if not more than half. And in this moment, especially, what I hope is that the history can kind of help inspire us and guide us, because it's really a remarkable and beautiful and very inspiring story about how Americans of all different stripes came together and created this library system and made it more and more inclusive over like a century-long journey, really, and that it was women at the forefront. So it's, even though we're a little distressed about how long it took us to finish this, it's really appropriate that it's coming out in 2020, which is the year that women a century ago got the right to vote.
How has COVID-19 and the whole epidemic impacted your completion of the film?
Whew. Well,
where should we start?
The main thing, in addition to like for the composer, we were almost done. Again, we were like gearing up to get everything done so we could premiere this summer. So the composer couldn't record with his musicians in the recording studio anymore. All the archives closed, and so we can't get the rights to all the footage. Like she said, it's historical.
The festivals that we've been accepted at, we had to, they either got canceled or we had to decline because we couldn't deliver a finished film until we get our archival material.
Yeah, we had
to give up our broadcast on PBS that was supposed to be happening in a few months. What else? Oh, and then I made the big decision that we needed to go in and make a few, what I thought would be very minor changes to the film to have it be reflective of the new reality that it would be coming out into. And that's proven to be a little more daunting than I thought it would be. I'd say on the positive side, we have a lot more time to focus on things. It does make you realize, like, you've been running around and doing a million things, and Lucie, in addition to working on this project, had 2 other jobs at theaters in town, and those are both gone for now. So she has a lot more time to work on the project and just a lot fewer distractions.
But it's still hard to focus. Yeah, everything just takes 3 times as long, unfortunately. But we are lucky. I feel like we are so lucky compared to a lot of people, because we're still able to work. We aren't getting any money, but we're still able to. We have this space that's just a couple blocks from our house. So even though we're not essential workers, so we can still try and figure out what's gonna happen.
I was going to say, speaking of which, how can people help? I mean, yeah. I know you've...
So we are one of our plans. So because theaters are closed and festivals are closed, we really feel the need to get the film, once it's done, out into the community. And I don't think theaters or festivals are going to open for a long, long time in closed places. So our new brilliant idea, if I do say so myself, is we're going to get an RV. We've been donated a screen, and we have a projector that we could use to tell people, bring BYO chair and popcorn and come to the parking lot of the library or on the lawn or whatever, and we will broadcast the film, and we'll be there available for Q&A afterwards for people, and they can be outside, socially distant, and we can still have that sense of community with them at that point.
And where can they sign up?
They can sign up on our website as serendipityfilms.org.
And are you looking to help get someone to help underwrite, provide an RV, help underwrite the tour?
Yes, to all of the above.
That would be a yes.
Yes.
We have some funding to get it started, but it's going to be expensive.
Yeah.
As we're looking into it more, it's going to be a lot more expensive than we thought. At first, we were like, oh well, this will be actually the economical tour as opposed to flying all around and staying in hotels. But it's going to be really expensive. We also want to try and give the film away for free to as many, because it is about free public libraries, and the name of the film is Free for All. And we know that libraries are going to be really hurting right now, so we're hoping to find people and foundations and funders who can help us underwrite making it available.
And so out of the COVID-19 meltdown, what do you think are some of the positive things that could come out of it to help our local filmmakers such as yourselves here in the Bay Area?
As in the course of researching this film, I've become really aware of how important it is to have public funding for our public services like libraries and schools, but also for our artists. Philanthropists are not going to save us all the time. If we really want to have a thriving arts community and if we really want to have thriving social services, we need public funding for them. And I think people are starting to realize that a little bit during this period. So that's what I hope for. More city funding, more state funding, more national funding for the arts.
Thank you both for sharing your story today, and we'll make sure that everyone who's watching this and listening to it has all of the contact information, your social media, and you have a wonderful trailer, as I recall, on your website about the film.
Yeah, we're going to have to update that too.
And collected lots and lots of stories, so it's a really wonderful project, and I hope that you can bring it to fruition this year, or at least beginning of next year.
Thanks for having us, and thanks for everything you've done to support the project over the years.
Yeah.